It was so depressing.
On reflection.
It wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Do as he's told, like we all do.
Yeah, and that's the conclusion I came to in the end.
Where do we go from here?
Division 1.
The League One. Yeah.
Dave Redfern, remember that hat-trick Colton Palmer scored against QPR?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, tremendous.
He's a bit outspoken. He's a bit outspoken for my liking, John.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Am I right? Am I right in thinking he made his debut against United in a friendly and got sent off?
You may be right, but I don't recall that. I mean, to be fair to him, he didn't get sent off many times, if at all. He was just an awkward, gangling bugger, but he actually very effective.
Well, what are you Wednesday night? Could you research that? Because I'm sure I'm right in thinking that, but if you don't remember.
No, I mean, we've had so many players sent off over the years, it's hard to remember them all. Had so many players sent off this season, it's hard to remember them all.
He was one of those players I thought wasn't really good enough to play for England, but yet got quite a few caps.
He did. I mean, for a Wednesday player, he got an inordinate amount of caps, really.
Yeah.
There's not many Wednesday players who've got more England caps.
Yeah, one of the teams in our league knew him, or someone knew him, and he volunteered to play a game for them if they raised a certain amount of money for charity, which they did, and he played one game for them.
Nice of him.
Yeah. When we were sponsored by Finlux, I know his ambition was to have a TV and a video recorder in every room in the house, including the toilet. And he succeeded.
Man of vision.
Yeah, good telly, man of vision. Very good, very good. Good telly, Finlux. If you didn't mind Finnish subtitles.
Can I go
You
back?
didn't.
Right, I think we're all back on now, so we might as well get to it with Chris. As Chris has done a piece about cricket, strangely enough, but cricket in film and on stage and possibly on TV. So over to you, Chris.
Keith, can I just say, just before Chris starts, I don't know if people know this, but when one person's going to be doing a talk, if you go to their picture on the screen and go to the top right-hand corner, people might know this, but there's a blue square. If you click on the blue square and you click on then pin video, it does the large screen of that particular person. So I know Chris often shows photographs and so on. And
I am doing that again, Paul. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go for the pin video,
okay,
you get a close up. Did you know that? I don't know.
No.
I only found it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, there is another way of doing it. In the top right-hand corner where it says view, if you click on that, you can go to speaker view, and it shows you the person who's speaking in full screen.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. I've just blown Chris up on my screen.
Really? I'm very honoured.
Yeah, you're in Technicolor, CinemaScope, Dolby surround sound.
I wish I'd had my hair cut now. Oh Lord, I wish I'd had it cut. Anyway.
I don't get what you're getting. I get what Keith's getting, which is the view, speaker, gallery option, or full screen. I don't get what do you call pin video.
No, Ian, got to your picture or anyone's picture, actual picture. Click on it.
Yes, in the three dots. Yes.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, Chris.
No problem. No, it's good. I didn't know it. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Thank you.
Right.
Sorry about that.
So
yeah, we are.
Right.
Don't worry.
So can we get all your interruptions in now?
Right. And I've got some, if I get time, if I get through it, I have got some quiz questions which I can just throw out at the end or as I'm going along. So see how we go. See if anyone agrees with my choices.
Well, I love listening to you, Chris, but can you put a picture of Jennifer Aniston there, please?
Hang on a minute. No, I'm not going down that route. Right. Okay. I'll get started then, Keith. Right. I've just called this my favourite selections because it's just me. It's just how I look at things. When I look at cricket, it obviously is a very popular sport worldwide, but it's not shared anything like the same popularity as other sports on screen. It is very technically difficult to capture on film, and there's only one or two good productions worthy of the game, really. So this is a personal look, and I've just highlighted for you the features that I believe have got some excellent value, and they do evoke memories for me, which is, I suppose, what it's all about. I haven't included documentaries like the fantastic Fire in Babylon. Wow. What a film that is. What a film that is.
Yeah.
And I'm not including The Edge, which is probably as good, if not better. The first one's the West Indies rise to fame. This one is the rise from the depths of English cricket to being the top team in the world. So I'm not going to go down documentary routes because that's fairly easy stuff. I'm looking at drama. And the first thing I'm looking at is Hollywood. I thought that's the place to look for. So you look at Hollywood in the 1930s, and it's just dominated by British and Commonwealth actors. Notably, Sir Charles Aubrey Smith, who was a former Test match player and captain of England, one Test, but he was also a prolific film actor, and he was the founder in 1932 of the Hollywood Cricket Club. And despite all of that, there are no feature films I can find made stateside that have got cricket in them at the core. Very famous English actors like Boris Karloff, Frankenstein and The Mummy fame, and Trevor Howard, Brief Encounter, Third Man, films like that. And there were many others like Errol Flynn, David Niven, Cary Grant, Leslie Howard, Basil Rathbone, and Nigel Stock, and Ronald Coleman, and perhaps most famously of all, Sir Laurence Olivier. These were all players who either played for the Hollywood Cricket Club or were members of it. And that cricket club is still going, albeit in a slightly different format. Can I check that people can see that? Can you see that? Well, that's a picture on the left of Charles Aubrey Smith, played for Sussex, who was captain of England, who starred in many, many tens of films. Boris Karloff in his cricket gear, and an old photograph of the Hollywood 11.
Lift it a bit higher, Chris.
About there?
Yeah.
About there. Okay. Now, here's a question for you. Anyone recognise the players, the British and Commonwealth born players who played for the Hollywood 11?
Trevor Howard.
Cary Grant, Errol Flynn, Boris Karloff,
David
Niven, Olivier, Leslie Howard.
Yeah, you've got them all. Well done. So they all either played. Apparently, Leslie Howard hated cricket, but he went for the drinks. He went for the parties. This is an amazing picture, which I've managed to come up with. Anyone notice who's in the circle?
Yes.
Who's in the circle? It's Errol Flynn.
Yeah.
In 1938, arguably at the height of his fame, becoming hugely famous, he sat next door to Nigel Stock, who was famously Watson in all the Sherlock Holmes films.
Yeah.
And C. Aubrey Smith is on the front row with a pipe and his blazer. Fantastic photograph.
Where do you get all these photos?
This one, I'm asking you a question. What film set is that from, and who is the person batting? Any ideas?
It's a war film.
It's a war film.
Hopkins.
No, I'll tell you. Unless there's any guesses.
Sons of Navarone.
Not quite. It's the set of A Bridge Too Far.
Right.
And in between filming, that's Laurence Olivier having a game of cricket. What an amazing, amazing photograph.
Yeah,
You nick all these photos.
Yeah. Of course I do. My late dad,
A visit
Mike,
to your museum and art gallery is a must when we pass lockdown.
I've said many times before, small fee, marquee in the garden, no problem.
Yeah.
I've booked a coach.
Thank you. We'll get a
cold
minibus. We'll have a hell of a do. Right.
70 metre.
Enter it through Keith
A 70, yeah. Right. Well, another memory there for me is that my dad did have an amazing encounter with both Boris Karloff and Trevor Howard, 1955, because they both umpired a benefit match which my dad was playing in as a young man. And they both came into the Notts dressing room at the end of the game, and they both shook hands with my dad and congratulated him because he had played a major part in a winning partnership, in a big innings. And, you know, that makes those people very special to me and my family. There have been some films in Hollywood with cricket in them, but they're only little scenes and flashes. They include such diverse films as Slumdog Millionaire, Frost Nixon, Chariots of Fire, Master and Commander, Far Side of the World, and The Bridge on the River Kwai. They've all got cricket scenes or cricket-related scenes. But not unsurprisingly, there have been many more films with a cricket story made in Australia, and in particular India, where such is the level of fanatical interest in cricket that obviously film directors, film producers queue up to make films and documentaries about the game. So I'm going to move on now to my two favourite films, and they couldn't be more different if I possibly tried, but they are my favourites.
Before you start on that, Chris, just very quickly, you know, in looking at Jim Thorpe, I watched the film the other night, and he was looking at a sports page, in a headline about his a great performance of his, and lower down on the front page of the sports page was an article about cricket.
Good grief!
Yeah. It was so small I couldn't read it, but it's just amazing that it's article about cricket where you're talking about Jim Thorpe as an American footballer.
Well, you and I keep finding film references and cross-references. It's quite staggering, isn't it, what you find?
Yeah.
Okay, my two favourite films. They're just my favourite films. They're not the best films necessarily, although I think one is. But they're just my choices. The first one is an old black and white British-made film from 1953. It's called The Final Test.
Yeah.
And although cricket had been in a few English films up to that point, this is an actual film with cricket at the core. Came out in August 1953. It's entirely based about a story of a retiring English Test match batsman, played by Jack Warner, and it's in a Test match against the Australians at the Oval. It was originally written as a play by Sir Terence Rattigan. It's a very simple, friendly film. It stars also Robert Morley, and it's probably the best depiction of cricket and cricketers up to that point. The authenticity of the film was helped a hell of a lot by the fact there were 6 England Test match players who had parts in the film. Yeah, and I'll show you this, and you can name them. That's
Jack Warner on the right.
Cyril Washbrook on the left. Yeah,
correct. So that's a scene from the actual film. Cyril Washbrook, Len Hutton, and Jack Warner, who plays a man called Sam Palmer, playing his first Test.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can always recognise Cyril Washbrook because he always had his cap tilted the other way.
He did.
To everybody else.
You're quite right. What a fantastic player. The critics were very enamoured by this film and gave it lots of praise. But more recently, Sky Cinema have said this: it's difficult to imagine that this little film packed out the massive Odeon Leicester Square in its day, but it did. And The Guardian said recently, it's Britain's only significant cricket picture. It ran for 6 months in New York, and apparently, don't hold this against the film, it was Harold Wilson's most famous favourite film.
No problem with that, Chris.
Okay, I just thought I'd cover my bases there.
Yeah.
Is this one on YouTube as well, Chris?
You could probably find it on YouTube, certainly trailers and bits and pieces, and it's available on DVD as well. So,
Right,
you know,
okay.
it's out there. You can certainly find it, yeah. Again, personally, my late dad, played against Dennis Compton and Godfrey Evans, who's in the film. So, as you can imagine, it occupies a top place in my favourite list. Certainly worth watching. It's humorous. It's got some drama in it. And you can just enjoy how England used to be in the 1950s, long gone. That's a picture of the filming a scene on the balcony, and there are 5 of the 6 English players that played in the film. Left to right, Washbrook, then Hutton and Compton, Jim Laker, Godfrey Evans, and Alec Bedser is not on this photograph. Jack Warner, who's the fictional character, is in a cap and blazer. I'd be amazed if you could guess this, but I'll ask it anyway. Which real commentator did they use for the commentary on the fictitious match?
Peter Scott.
Arlott?
John Arlott. Correct. That's a hell of a good answer. John Arlott. So that's a little film. I'm now moving to an enormous film, a film so big in its budget and extent, it's astounding. And in my opinion, humble opinion, it's the best film of cricket there's ever been. It's called Lagan. How many people have heard of Lagan?
Yeah. No. Only because of you, Chris.
Right. So, guys, the best thing I can say to you is if you find it, have a look at it, because it's that good. And no one's heard of it, probably outside of certain countries. So
how do you spell that, Chris?
Lagaan.
What year was it made, Chris? What year?
It was made in 2001. Lagan, translated from Hindu, is land tax. So that comes into it. So, whereas that little film in black and white I've just talked about was 93 minutes long, this is 224-minute epic, obviously in colour, made in India. It's a musical sport film. It's got subtitles. It's starring Amir Khan, and it was released to absolutely huge acclaim. It's got a stellar supporting cast, stunning visuals, brilliantly staged outdoor sets, musical interludes and dancing, 10,000 Indian extras, and English actors who were recruited. And this is a book about how they were recruited for the film. They were recruited because they could play cricket. If they couldn't play cricket, didn't matter how good they weren't picked to play their characters in the film. So when it came out, it dominated all of the film awards, and it won many film awards. I put together that montage. That's a DVD cover of Lagan, and also the book that I've just shown you by Chris England, who was one of the leading actors in the English team. It was made on location for $5.5 million. It was credited with becoming one of the most iconic films of the 21st century, created massive impact in India and Indian films, and it put Bollywood to the fore of the film industry. It's set in the Victorian period of the British Raj in India. It revolves around uneducated peasants from a drought-stricken village in central India. They're very oppressed by high taxes, Lagan, and the British ruling class. They're challenged by a very arrogant British officer. When I show this, you can go hiss boo, because that's how he is portrayed. So that's Paul Blackthorne of of England playing as Captain Russell. He's a really evil bloke. And the English officer challenges the village to a game of cricket. And if they win, they don't pay the Lagan for 3 years. If they lose, it's tripled. So after accepting the challenge, rather foolishly, they faced the task, the villagers faced the task of learning the game and its rules, and then trying to find 11 men who can play against basically highly competent cricketers from Eton and Harrow, and so the whole of the rest of the film's about recruitment of the 11. It's a bit like the Magnificent Seven. The blacksmith's strong, so he can hit it for, all over the place. The village outcast can bowl leggies. So forget that he's an outcast, he's in the team, and on and on. It's fantastic. The cricket action is absolutely brilliant. They spent hours and hours on the cricket. It was so hot during the filming, there was no sweat because it evaporated, and yet it's supposed to be in the middle of basically desert. They had to spray people with a mixture that looked like sweat because it didn't look right with no sweat. I mean, this is the detail they went to. That's a picture of the village team led by Amir Khan. He's the guy in the middle. He was also the film producer. And this was the start of his mega career, really. Huge film star in India. And that's the village team. It deservedly won all major awards at many international film festivals. And it's the third Hindu language film ever to be nominated for the Oscar Best Foreign Film. It was a massive DVD success. It had the biggest sales of any DVD in India up to 2007, certainly. And Empire magazine voted it 55th in the 100 best films of world cinema. It's currently rated #1 cricket film of all time. And the BBC rated it as a film, one of the top films you must see before you die. If I sound enthusiastic about this film, it's because it's so good. It's unusual, it's challenging, it's tremendous entertainment, and you can watch it over 3 days if you want, because it's that long.
3-day test.
Well, the game is a 3-day game in front of 10,000 people.
Oh, wow.
I can only recommend it as highly as I have done.
Chris.
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
They actually just found both the clip and the actual film. The film is 3 hours, 8 minutes duration. The clip, which is the cricket scene, is just under 17 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll put it on the website for you.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, you can get to watch the film on YouTube, I believe. So I've also had a look for the final test, and it looks like there's only trailers on YouTube, but it's on. If anybody's got Amazon Prime, I haven't, but if anybody's got Amazon Prime, you can get it on Amazon Prime at the moment. So.
That's great.
Oh,
Thanks,
sorry,
Keith.
Keith. I've just contradicted that. I've said the actual film, 3 hours, is available on YouTube under the 17-minute cricket scene on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
So you can get it.
Just as a little,
sorry,
just as a little aside, when they finished filming, they actually redid the match for real.
Right.
And the Indians, who were all really good players, played the English. And it was an international standard game, 1-day fixture. And they played that after and gave it all of the television coverage that you would imagine they gave a 1-day international to. It's an amazing film.
Just to clear up, Ian, Lagan, you can get on YouTube, the full film.
Yes.
The English film, The Final Test, you can't get on YouTube at the moment, but you can get it on Amazon Prime.
Fine, okay, but you could still get the cricket scene on YouTube, which is 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
the thing I'll put on the website for you. Sorry,
Thank you,
I
Ian.
misunderstood you.
No, please, no spoilers as to what happens. No spoilers. Okay. Okay, I'm moving now from my two favourite films to television. And television has been a more, it's been a more popular medium for cricket, drama and comedy. And there's quite a few cricket a few comedy or drama series that has cricket in it as a main theme. There's cricket scenes galore in English television. I'm not going to bore you, but as you know, you can see cricket scenes in Fawlty Towers, Monty Python, and Yes Prime Minister. There's loads. In Australia, there's Home and Away, Neighbours, Paul Hogan Show. Loads of cricket references, loads of sketches. However, I'm going to look at my top 3 television series. And the first one I'm going to refer to is this series, which came out in 1984, and it's called Ever Decreasing Circles.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant.
And obviously some of you have seen it. BBC comedy. There were 4 series, and I'm highlighting episode 2, series 2. It's called The Cricket Match. It stars Richard Briers and Peter Egan. Peter Egan plays Paul, who is the hated rival neighbour, who can do anything. Anything he tries is brilliant. This is a cricket-themed episode, and it was perfectly filmed, even though Egan, in reality, can't play cricket. He's hopeless. But it is unbelievable that if you use the right music, Wagner, close-ups and slow motion, you create the impression that he's this magical player. Richard Briers, who obviously was in every episode, says this is his most famous episode. And it had 10 million viewers at certain stages of series 2. It's great fun. It's very funny. It's well acted. There's Richard Briers in his cricket gear, desperately trying to do better than his neighbour, and of course, you know what happens. This is incredible, but tomorrow afternoon on Gold, just after 1:30, that episode is on television, and I didn't know that. I don't know. In fact, it's on Gold.
Fantastic.
So all I can say is put your recorder on if you like. It's on. It's a brilliant episode.
Brilliant.
Is Penny Wilton in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the important thing.
Yes. She's very good at it. She's very good. The second one I'm picking is an episode of The Brilliant Dad's Army.
Yeah.
This is from November 1970. It's called The Test. It's from series 4. And looking at Gold, like I have done now, it's going to be coming on in another week or so. So it's worth having a look for. In this particular ridiculous episode, Hodges, who is played by Bill Pertwee, challenges Mainwaring's home guard to a cricket match. But being Hodges, he employs a ringer to ensure he wins. And the ringer is
Fred Truman.
Fred Truman playing himself. That's just to remind you, if you haven't seen, I mean, we've all seen it surely. But there's Bill Pertwee and Arthur Lowe in a scene from the programme. Bill Pertwee was a lifelong, passionate cricket fan. And he did accept an invitation from my dad to be the guest speaker at a dinner in 1980, a Retford dinner. And my dad kept all the correspondence from that dinner, all the letters between him and Bill Pertwee. And I had the honour to be sitting near Bill Pertwee on that night, and we talked about, we just talked about his career, cricket, mainly Derek Randall. It was just a pleasure to be in the man's presence. So that's my second choice. My third choice takes me back really to my childhood, because that's a picture of both of them in the cricket match. So there's Arthur Lowe and John Le Mesurier with Ian Lavender in the middle. That's actually a still from the film.
Do you remember who won? Who made the winning run?
Yes.
Godfrey.
Yes.
Godfrey.
Yeah.
Godfrey.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember.
Arnold Ridley. Yeah.
Arnold
Arnold Ridley.
Yeah.
Marvelous, marvelous.
A pull hook.
Can I ask you how many balls did Fred Truman bowl in that particular match?
About 2.
Well, he bowled one and injured himself in the second.
Yeah.
And then retired hurt.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly funny. Anyway, my third and last is from my real childhood, which I'm still in, I think. But it's Doctor Who, 1982, an episode, 2-part episode called The Black Orchid, which was quite controversial in its own way at that time. It was all done in a country house in 1925 where the TARDIS lands, and this is a picture of the 5th Doctor, Peter Davison, in his cricket attire in front of the pavilion that they used in this episode. And from then on, he wore that uniform. He wore that as Doctor Who. And the cricket sequences are very well done. Peter Davison can obviously play cricket. There's no question about that. They film him batting, bowling and fielding, and it's extremely well done. Extremely well done. That's a picture for cricket devotees of Peter Davison in his stance in the episodes, and also playing a cover drive. And you can't do that unless you can play cricket. And so it's a favourite episode of mine. It's all about cricket and what happens. And it was watched by 9 million viewers, which is quite a staggering amount of people. So I hope you're bearing with me at the moment. I'm now going to speak to you about a couple of standouts, which are series. They're actual series. And cricket is the main theme. And the first one is Outside Edge.
Brilliant.
Which is John appeared in Outside Edge in a stage performance and playing Dennis. And I went to a stage performance of Outside Edge in 2004, starring Fraser Hines. And Fraser Hines at that time was a very good friend of mine. I don't see him at all now, but he'd done lots of work with me on charity cricket matches, and he loves, absolutely besotted by cricket. So he was able to play that part extremely well. And then curiously, when they filmed it for television, it went to several series, 2 or 3 series. And the second series was filmed in Nottingham at Woollerton Cricket Ground, Woollerton Cricket Club, which is that pavilion is often seen in the action sequences in series 2. And the little personal memory I have of that is my great friend in cricket, my teammate in the 70s, Nottinghamshire's Peter Hacker. And Peter Hacker was recruited, obviously as a very capable player, to be in the film as an extra, so that when they did the cricket, they had cricketers actually doing things, and it made it much more realistic. So that's Outside Edge on the stage and on television.
Brenda Blethyn.
Sorry?
Brenda Blethyn.
Yeah.
Played
Oh,
the
yes.
lead in the TV series.
Yeah.
Their start.
My next.
It was a very good play to be in.
Yeah, it must have been. I'll talk to you about it. It must be fantastic.
Chris, just to let you know, you're 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to rush through. The next one I'm picking is an Australian production, fantastic series. It's just simply called How's That? And this is the story, 1976, not a story, the reality of how Kerry Packer, the multimedia tycoon, took on the cricket establishment, recruited 50 of the top players in the world secretly, and established a new competition called World Series Cricket. And this was shown, this film was actually shown in 2 or 3 parts in Australia, and then released as a film. It is absolutely brilliant. I can't give it a high enough credit. The cricket sequences are very authentic. They managed to get actors who could play cricket reasonably well, and facially one or two of them do look like the people they're playing. If you want to see why there are helmets, floodlights, coloured clothing, white balls, stadium music and stump mics, if you want to know where all that comes from, is Kerry Packer and that series in 1978-ish, to about 80.
Chris, how's
Yes.
that? How's that to me? Is 2 hexagonal dice that kept it occupied many a rainy day.
Yeah.
Fantastic game, Ian.
Yeah, I remember it well. That's Subbuteo cricket.
Yeah.
Little personal note, Derek Randall was approached by Kerry Packer's people to join World Series cricket. Derek turned that down. It was very lucrative, but he turned it down because Derek Randall wanted to play for England. That was his sole ambition. And he feared that if you joined Packer, you would be banned for life. And indeed, that's what the threat was until Packer won the court case. So Derek never did play for Packer. The last one in the series I just want to highlight is Bodyline. Now, I have to admit this is a bit of a guilty pleasure because you've got to put aside the fact it's incredibly biased against the English. It's made in Australia. It's got some factual errors and some laughable action sequences that couldn't possibly work. But if you put all that to one side, it's actually very good. The drama bits are very good. Hugo Weaving, who was in all of the Lord of the Rings
Lord of the
films,
Rings, yeah.
he plays Jardine. And apart from kicking children or taking the wings off butterflies, you couldn't show a more evil man than Hugo Weaving as Douglas Jardine. But it is brilliant. And from me personally, main people in it are Larwood and Vose. Well, they were both major figures in my grandfather's cricket career. And my dad, my dear old dad, was coached by Bill Vose in the early 50s. So that you know, I have to look at it and just you know, have a laugh and look at it and think that's a pretty good series. I might be running out of time. Keith?
1 minute 40 seconds.
Right, I can't do my stage one. I'll rather hold that back because I've got a stage one which I do want to talk about, so I won't do that one. I'll hold it back, Keith.
Yeah.
Couple of quiz questions. Slumdog Millionaire, the film. Does anyone remember what the answer is to the vital cricket question that the young lad gets asked? It's worth It's worth 10 million rupees. Who scored the most first-class centuries? And he gets it right. Correct.
What's the answer?
Jack Hobbs.
Jack Hobbs. 199 first-class centuries.
197, wasn't it?
I've got 199, but you know, what's 3
Yes.
centuries when you've got that many? What television channel, sports channel, did Kerry Packer own?
9.
Channel 9. And who was his captain of the world team in World Series cricket?
Tony Gregg.
I'll stop there because we're running out of time. Thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Hello, Chris. Next week, I'll have a chat with somebody about next week. I think John's got something.
It's Ron next week. Ron next week and me the week after.
Right. And then Paul will be coming up soon, fast.
What?
On the outside.
Chariots of Fire.
Yeah, no, Ron's doing Chariots of Fire, isn't he?
All right.
Yeah.
We'll find something for you as well, Paul.
I said I'd talk about cool